All right, everybody, can you hear me and can you see my screen? Yes. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome everyone to Turn Billing Data into Growth Drivers on Salesforce. Thank you so much for joining us today. Whether you're tuning in from the Americas, Europe, or anywhere else around the globe, we really appreciate your time. Of course, before we begin, please note that today's session might contain forward-looking statements about product capabilities and timelines. I'm Kelly O'Sullivan, Enterprise Account Executive here at Salesforce, and I'm excited to be your host today. I'm joined by two experts who live and breathe this every day, Mike Aaron, our Senior Director of Revenue Cloud Product Management here at Salesforce, and Justin Wheatley, Director of Lead to Ledger at PhiX Technologies. So today, what are we going to go over? First, Mike is going to set the stage on the evolution of Salesforce Revenue Cloud Billing. Then we'll dive into our day in the life demonstration, walking through real scenarios that revenue operations teams face daily. And of course, we'll save time for your questions at the end. So Mike, let me hand it over to get this started.
Hey, Kelly. Welcome, everybody. I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about a brand new feature of Revenue Cloud called Revenue Management Intelligence. So what is Revenue Management Intelligence? Well, it's a series of analytical dashboards that are going to help you drive your business to better results, right? And we've kind of designed these dashboards to really help you optimize the subscription performance, right? Stay ahead of the order pipeline, if you will, enhance your billing visibility, and then get insights into your pricing strategy. And we've got a bonus dashboard that's not on the screen that we'll bring up as we play along in our roles today. But excited to show you the technology. Maybe the next slide. Just a little overview of how this works. Of course, the new Revenue Cloud is built 100% on the Salesforce platform. It's API first, driven by a series of services that are compostable and modular and can be called from any environment. But that data foundation that we built out in Revenue Cloud flows seamlessly back into Data Cloud via data streams. And once it's in Data Cloud, right, we can use Tableau Next to slice and dice the data in magical ways. And so you get access to some really great insights. And the dashboards really provide some interesting drill down capabilities and views of your information as you progress. Next slide. So to kind of round up everybody before we get into the story, right, you're going to see 4 brand new dashboards today. The first one is pricing analytics, and it's included in our RC, our Revenue Cloud Advanced product. Now, pricing analytics really looks at pricing in real time and really tries to support our pricing analysts as they make progress through the day-to-day operations. The next tab is subscription revenue analytics. Now, this is used by both billing and by quoting components, and they really help us track subscription growth, really prioritize renewals, and understand where our opportunities are in the marketplace. Next is order analytics, right? You really want to understand how you're making the transition from the quoting back into billing, where the slowdowns are, where they occur. And this really helps you identify the bottlenecks, manage fallout, and really understand kind of what's slowing down your ability to recognize that revenue. And then finally, billing analytics, right? Assess how your balances are progressing. Where is your day sales outstanding? How are invoices progressing through the system? And how can we improve our processes to collect cash faster? And so we're going to put these dashboards into a vignette for you. And I think that as we kind of play through the storyline here, you'll get a good view of what the data is and how you can interact with them.
So we're going to get into your dashboards here, Mike.
Okay. So if you stop sharing, Kelly, I will start. Thank you, ma'am. I'm going to find my share button because I've lost it now.
Always the fun of Zoom.
Oh, it is. It is. All right. So first up, as a billing executive, right? When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I think about is, well, how many orders got into the billing engine last night? And where are the slowdowns that are occurring in the system so I can go and hunt somebody down and really get that billing data moving? And so the first panel I want to look at is my order analytics dashboard. Now, in the order analytics dashboard, right, I can see data about the total number of orders that have progressed over the footprint, right? I can see the number of failed orders that are out there, the number of orders in jeopardy, and I can filter that data, right? I can filter it based on accounts or based on products or based on order start dates if I want to kind of confine what I'm looking at, which is amazing. I can also see things like order distribution and task distribution. How are things being spread out around the system? And where different orders are in the provisioning process. For example, if I wanted to see all the orders that are being assigned to serial number and what their status is, I can click on that. And then the graph below will filter just to show me exactly which orders are in that step, which have completed it, and which are pending still. And so it's a dynamic dashboard. It allows us to not only drill down on the data, but also have dynamic filtering on board the system as we interact. Now, the system also allows us to drill into the details themselves. So if I wanted to see all of the failed orders, I could actually bring this up and I could view the metric information. I could send a message to Slack if I needed to. I could copy the link. I could download the image and put it in a text message if I needed to, or I could add followers to the dashboard. So pretty powerful stuff. Now, we wouldn't be really doing justice to the dashboard if we didn't bring Agentforce into play here. So I can even pop Agentforce here if I'm extremely lazy, which I tend to be. And I can just say, hey, Agentforce, tell me all the orders that are not activated. And Agentforce will actually go out and look across the dynamic revenue orchestration tool, and it will find all the orders that are not activated and list them out for me right on the screen. So I can drill that even further through Agentforce and get specific details about those records. So Kelly, what do you think? Good start?
I think it's fantastic. All of us, we talk about billing data at our fingertips. We talk about Agentforce. We talk about natural language, asking real questions. It just makes your life so much easier. So who are we handing over to next? We have another dashboard to look at.
That'll be me, Kelly.
Oh, yay, Justin. Exciting.
Thank you. Let me share my screen. Thank you for that, Mike. So I'm going to be talking about the billing analytics dashboard and the details that this gives me as a billing manager or somebody who's interested in all of the metrics around billing. Firstly, as Mike said, because we're utilizing Data Cloud and Tableau, we get some really powerful visualized metrics, which we can start to work with. So I think this one is really, really powerful. The thing to note here, there are a number of different tabs and a number of different data points that we can start to interrogate. So as I'm looking at this at the moment, I've got it for all of my regions. I have it for all of my accounts and all of my products. My current time period is my year to date, but I can start to change this as well if I want to have a look at next year, for example. I can choose next year, or I can choose the current year. And as I start to change the dates, you'll then start to see this data is getting updated in real time. So I can see that my annual recurring revenue is high. I'm at 80.4 million. My total revenue is at 201.7 million. I can see my active accounts. I can see my monthly recurring revenue and generated invoice count. And please don't take a note of my terrible renewal rate. I need to get a new team on renewals. All my team are comped on new business, so they've not focused on renewals. What we can also do there is also come down into this section here and start looking at revenue trends. So my revenue trend by month, I can start looking at my amounts that are overdue. I can look at anything that's impacting my MRR. So that is a really powerful one for me. I want to understand what my changes in MRR are down to. So here we can see on the left my net MRR changes, and I can see throughout the months how my MRR is growing. September, October, and November, obviously that is the forecast with my current monthly recurring revenue and any churn that's being brought into that. On the right hand side, areas that are influencing my MRR are my new MRR that's been captured. I've got the expired. And as Mike mentioned earlier, if we want to start drilling down into that data, this is where we can really start changing what we're looking at. Let's just reset that then. So talking about following on from Mike, I've now got a section here, which is my unbilled orders. So I can start to see I've got draft orders going back to October 2024. Why is that? What do I need to do with that? And then I've got draft orders going throughout the month. So I can start to, again, interrogate that data. Moving on down, we've now got some interesting data with my monthly active accounts and the values associated to each of those accounts. And a really powerful one here. So I can see my top accounts where they've got the DSO. So we can see my New York Giants account. They're not a great account. I need to be on top of that. So we can start making some informed decisions, or actually ask Agentforce to go and create me some targeted dunning directly for that account. Next thing I'm going to do is, we've also got the net build as well. So this talks about my recurring revenue. So for this month, you can see my monthly billing is at 11.56 and my annual billing is at 84 million. On the right here, we can see any non-recurring charges that I've billed for. The next thing I can do is I can now start to interrogate the invoices. So let's click on the invoice tab. And here I now get taken into a different set of metrics with different data. So I'm just going to go year to date. And I can start to see my invoice health score. So these are the invoices that are being settled throughout the month. And we obviously had a high volume of invoices in April. And we can see that a favorable trend has been detected. And this is Einstein and Tableau and all of the AI that are coming up with these trends here. I can see the generated invoice count. I've got 5 failed invoice runs, a total of 33 invoices in draft. And again, down here, I can see my invoice pipeline. Coming down further, I can see my aging invoices. So here's all of my invoices that are 90 days overdue. And then this gives me a breakdown of all of those invoices. This is a good trend. I would expect most of my debt to be in my current. And again, clicking on that, I can see all of the details related to all of the different invoices. And last thing before I pass back to you, Kelly, my invoice run metrics. I can click on this, and this is going to give me any data that I then need to troubleshoot. So have I had any issues with any of my invoice runs? Here I can come and see if there's any draft invoices that remain in draft status. And again, clicking into these, actually it filters the data that I'm seeing further down. And again, as Mike mentioned earlier, we can use Agentforce for this. Let's just see. Oh, let me just clear my chat because I've been chatting with Agentforce already. And let's just ask it, what was the total value of invoices generated in August? So Agentforce is going off. He's doing, or he or she, should I say, doing what they're good at. And it's telling me that the total value of invoices generated for August was 68 million. What's the average? So what's the average value of my invoices? So again, this is going to go off. It's going to do the calculations, going to do the sums, and then return me to say the average value of my invoices was 129,000. There's so much more that I could talk to you about, so much more detail that I could go into, but we do have other dashboards that we need to cover. So with that,
Fantastic.
And hand back to you.
Justin, I think that we're going to have to call you the invoice interrogator because I really appreciated that. That was great. I mean, I think Agentforce helps you with that. All these dashboards help you with that. So it kind of gives you a good overview of what's going on. So Mike, how do we help people take action on all of this data?
we got to help those doers, right? We got to help
Gotta
the
help
people that
them.
are running the system, I think. And so I've kind of pulled up the billing operations console, and this is our surprise dashboard for the session. This is really designed for the doers, the folks that are managing the day-to-day operations on the system. And you can see a lot of the data that Justin had access to in the executive dashboard is kind of presented to the doer level as well. How many invoices do we produce? I think we're close, Justin. Mine's the last 30 days. I'm at 68 million and change, and you were the same way. How many draft invoices are out there? That's important for administrators because they need to go out and check on why the invoice didn't post. How many invoice runs have been executed? How many credit memos are out there right now? When is the next invoice run that's going to execute? And then I have some buttons here that I can use to modify the schedule, or if I want to run earlier or faster, or maybe I want to deactivate because something's going on. I can check on the status of different invoice runs that have executed in the system. I can see kind of how those invoice runs executed, how many documents they've produced, and if I need to, I can recover the invoice run right from the screen. So it's a one-stop shop for all invoice operations here in Salesforce. If there were failed invoices, and because Justin and I are perfect, there are no failed invoices, but you would see them here listed on the system. And then you can also look at every single billing error that's occurred across the entire billing platform right on the same screen. And so you can really look at all the issues that are kind of throughout the system, whether it's a tax interface or a configuration problem or a setup problem that you've had. The system lists all those errors out, and then you can drill down on the errors to see the individual details about the error and then work the problem. And so really we've kind of given the admins, that based on that same data, a view of the world so they can operate the system and really kind of understand what's going on with the day-to-day operations versus what we've shown you previously, the kind of the executive level. And again, because Agentforce is plugged in, admins have that power as well, where they can ask Agentforce to list all the invoices that were produced for the month. And so Agentforce will, again, go out, and because billing data is on Salesforce, invoice data is on Salesforce, Agentforce will list out all the invoices, and you can drill down on each of the records and kind of understand what's going on. So the power of Agentforce coupled in with the power of data surfaced in different purposes for either executive level folks or operational folks here on board the billing platform. So again, powerful stuff for billing and the billing persona.
Yeah. And all I can think of is how much time this is saving everybody. I mean,
Right.
that's the power of this. Not only the data real, actionable, source of truth, people are saving hours in their day to get their darn jobs done. Now, of course, this is a billing story. I'm a salesperson. How do I get to use this data?
I mean, I don't think we would be very good billing partners, Kelly, if we didn't give the sales folks some of their own dashboards, if we didn't provide them with the same types of insights we've just given the billing admins for the sales folks, right? And so the first dashboard that we've kind of built out for sales is something called the subscription analytics dashboard. And what you'll see is a lot of the data on the top board, right, repeats because a lot of this information is metrics that drive the entire business. So MRR, the number of active subscriptions, the booking revenue, the number of new subscriptions, the number of renewals. Justin, got to get that up. 2 renewals, not good.
Yeah,
Who's the top sales rep? Of course, it's Justin. It looks like Matt and Barry have also got some records here where the subscription growth is coming in. And again, we're working on a limited data set, guys, just making jokes about it, obviously. And then drill down capability across the subscription details as you need to kind of understand where the details are in the system. So the idea behind the subscription analytics dashboard is a sales view of the world. It gives us the ability to kind of look at the data in a different way and really understand how this information is impacting sales and really letting the sales reps make better decisions about their accounts, what they're doing, and how they operate going forward. Kelly?
Yeah, so that is great. All of us need to know the health of our accounts. We need to know when we can upsell, when we need to call finance and get that bill paid. We need to know everything about our accounts, and having it in one dashboard where every day I can sit there and say, okay, what is the health of my business? What do I need to do today to make sure everything is moving in the right direction? That is very, very helpful. Now, of course, another key metric is profitability. Everybody wants to know across the business, board of directors, etc., are we profitable? Are we making money? And that takes us to pricing, Justin. So let's look at the pricing analytics dashboard now.
Thank you very much. And thanks again for that, Mike. That was a good walkthrough. I specifically love the billing operations because in a previous role, when I was running that, I used to have to go to multiple different places and run multiple different reports. So the billing operations dashboard, just having it all there on one page without having to navigate all different places, that's a real game changer.
Who doesn't like being able to ask Agentforce to write the report for you versus write it yourself, man? Right on the page? Are you kidding me? I mean, that's perfect.
Perfect. So, okay, now I'm going to jump personas. Now I'm going to jump in at kind of like a C level. So this could be for your CRO, it could be for the COO, it could be the CFO. And what I'm looking at here is all of the pricing metrics relevant to my business. Straight off the bat here, what I'm seeing is an overall summary. On the right-hand side, we can see that I can filter into different sections, but overall, I'm looking at my overall summary to see my current revenue, what my current costs are to date, my current margin to date, and then what that margin percentage looks like. Again, very high level. What we can then do is, as we start drilling down, coming down the screen further, we can look at how we distribute this across countries and across industries, but we can also change that. So at the moment, we're looking at my revenue across country. And we can see that my biggest revenue driver is the United States, and it's the technology industry that is driving that revenue. I can also start to look at, okay, how do my costs distribute? Where is my biggest costs coming from? And what's the biggest industry that's driving that trend? So simply clicking on my cost, here I can see, so it's the UK that are giving me the biggest costs, and the cost by industry is within the engineering industry. And as you saw me do that, you saw these pie charts that also changed as we drilled across from cost. So again, let's have a look at margin. Let's see how this is going to affect our, let's see how this is going to affect our dashboards. So margin, biggest margin by country is the United States. And again, it's back up to that technology industry. So not only does this help your pricing people, but also it can affect your marketing. So we really want to target the US in the technology industry because we can see that's where we're making our biggest that's where our biggest revenue is coming from. And the same again, we can do that by margin percentage. We can ask Agentforce to drill into that data a little bit more. But what I'd like to do is, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a look at this by product. So on the left-hand side, we can see we've got the overall summary. We can see the revenue performance by customer or product. So let's click on product and actually drill in a little bit deeper onto this. Now, bear with me, my internet is a little bit slow today. It's been working very hard. Let me just give that a quick refresh. It never normally takes that long. There we go. So here I can now start to have a look at my product analysis. So here I can look at the subscriptions. I can look at the trending product category by revenue. So here we can see my subscriptions, my workspace solutions. I can then start to have a look at it by the actual products that we're selling. And this is a very good report here. So we can see trending products by discount. So at the moment here, we can see all of the pricing details here, but we can see where I've started to add in or my sales team have started to add in discount. So I can see the extended warranty product has been discounted by 91.87%. So let's drill into that. Let's have a look a little bit more details around that, because I'm not happy that we're discounting that product so much. So here we can see the accounts that have been added those discounts. So Edge Communications, we've not actually given them any discount. The discounts is broken out by these 3 accounts. Now they could be key target accounts where I'm making lots of revenue on other products, so it may be okay. But again, we could ask Agentforce, what is driving the discount behavior behind this? Coming back up again to our top level, we can start to look at our price waterfalls and our price versus volume trends. So let's click on that one. This goes out further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter on the current year to date, because what we're doing is we're forecasting out. So here we can see my average net price and the total quantities as well. So we can start to drill in further into these to understand exactly what is driving this behavior. I'm just going to take you back up to the top level once again. As you'll see, these reports are very fluid. So as I'm changing the data, we're seeing the dashboards update in real time. And I'm seeing all of the relevant data that I want to be able to see. And this gives me the ability to go and make decisions that can impact the business. With that, Kelly, I'm going to hand back to you.
All right. So before we wrap up, Mike, I want to know, how do we tell if this is actually working? Is there evidence, something you can dig into for us?
There is. On the back end of that subscription analytics dashboard, we can actually see details about renewals and churn. And so as part of that subscription analytics dashboard, not only have we given sales leaders the details about ongoing business operations, but we've also got this view of the world about how our subscription-based revenue is progressing throughout the footprint. So using Justin's data, we can understand how pricing was used to get customers to renew or to sign on, and then how effective that pricing is at retaining those customers going forward. And so here you can see the total number of accounts that are out there, total number of new accounts that are in the system, how many of those accounts have renewed, right? And then how many of those accounts have churned. You can also see details about those accounts and how they've grown over time. You can see who the top accounts are based on MRR, recurring revenue, across the footprint. You can also look at different product insights about the products themselves, about the churns themselves, and all the upcoming renewals that are on the books for all the different accounts that are out there. I can look at this data at an account level view, or I can pivot into a product level view. And so as a product manager, right, or as an executive, I want to make smart decisions about how I'm investing. Where am I putting my dollars for bill? Where am I putting my dollars for marketing? And so this is giving me a view of the world about the products and how they are performing across the account. So it's a different slice and dice of that data to show you the product details themselves. And again, you can kind of see the product, the names, and who's the top one and who's the bottom one here. You can look at the number of new accounts that have bought into it, churned accounts, and renewed product accounts. And again, I can filter this based on product, or I can look across product suites if I need to really get down to the data. And the best part about every single one of these dashboards and everything that we've shown you today is that they're all editable by you in Tableau Next. So if you don't like the graphs that we've constructed, or you want a different way to slice and dice the data, you can always use Tableau Next to customize the dashboards to meet your business. I hope, Kelly, that's a good wrap up there on the dashboards and the functionality that we're sprinkling around the system to make sure that executives and doers have a way to interact with us.
Yes. No, I mean, just the whole getting together with Tableau Next and Revenue Cloud Billing. It is such a big win for all of us. It helps, like you said, it helps executives. It helps the doers. It helps billing, revenue operations. It prepares you for your executive briefings. So yes, all of this data is important, and it powers all of your strategy, all of your operations. Understand why you have the bottlenecks. What's going on with your MRR, your subscription growth? How can you help or suggest your sales to do something else or change your pricing strategy. So there's so many decisions that can be made from this data that is your real customer data. So just so you guys all know, if you'd like to dive deeper, both Salesforce and PhiX were booking one-on-one sessions, and you can see all of these dashboards in action. We can follow up with each of you, follow up with your account director, and we can kind of dig through this one-on-one with you as it pertains to your teams. And then also, we are going to be at Dreamforce next month. So I hope to see all of you there. Mike and the PhiX team will also be there with deeper technical sessions, and we can tell you when those are once they're posted. You will be able to see more demos, hands-on time with dashboards, and connect directly with Salesforce product teams as well as PhiX to kind of build these technologies. So I think let's open up to the Q&A, and I'm also going to show my screen again just so you know how to get a hold of us. And I will open up for questions.
And Kelly, just while we're waiting for the questions, imagine how good those dashboards would look with actual real company data in them rather than my made up demo data that I've got in there, because some of the trends don't look great, but it shows what's going on with the business. So
yes, no, it definitely does. So I don't know if there's anybody out there. I see something in the chat here.
There's one that says, when an order fails or stalls, what's the impact downstream on Revenue Cloud? So I'll run that one, Justin. You can chime in there, but it all depends on your configuration of the order management component and whether or not you've started the billing system or not. Some companies would like to start billing before provisioning is complete or before the entire order provisioning system is complete. And we allow that to happen at the individual order line level or at the order level you choose, right? So if you've already activated billing, very little, right? Billing will continue to operate as kind of designed without really worrying about the status of the order. But if there's an impact, if you need to stop billing or suspend the account or maybe even void the invoice, right, those APIs are available and you can flow that sequence of events into the provisioning system so that if a failure does occur, we can either stop the order and roll back the billing component, or we can just stop the activation of billing to begin with. So I think that there's a lot of options on the table. You just need to design the system in a way that works for your business.
great.
Anything to add, Justin?
Not much to add on what Mike said, but yeah, it's the system is that powerful. We can build it to whatever your business processes are. So you could bill on specific milestones. So let's say you had built it out with the revenue, the DRO, which was going to generate bills at specific milestones. That's where then you could be alerted that we've got an order that's in jeopardy. What does that equate to? If we don't sort this out, it means we can't bill 5 million. There's also, it's so powerful. It's really kind of, that is a really open kind of question. But yeah, I think Mike nailed it with his response.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Having an intelligent system telling you when you have invoicing problems or ordership problems or, gosh, many, many things. And good news too, when you're having high profitability. So there's always the good and the bad with Salesforce billing as well as Tableau next. So I don't see any other questions. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Hopefully this was useful for our audience. And don't be shy. Reach out to us. We love to talk about all of the neat stuff that's coming out with Revenue Cloud. All right. Bye-bye.
So-
Bye.